Returning for a sixth season on the Smithsonian Channel is Air Warriors, a series that showcases the best military aircraft over the history of the United States. And returning as host is Colonel C.R. Anderegg, who flew over 170 combat missions. And he's joining me right now. Colonel, hello.
Hi, Jeff.
Greetings from Las Vegas, home of Nellis Air Force Base, Operation Red Flag, and the Thunderbirds. Thank you so much for joining me today, Colonel.
I'm good. I lived in Las Vegas for 6 years and my daughter was born there.
I was born here in Las Vegas too. I'm so proud of my city and I'm proud of Nellis Air Force Base. So, returning for a sixth season in Air Warriors, do you have many people who come up to you and tell you what kind of plane they want to see on the show?
The show covers a variety of aircraft, combat aircraft, over quite a period of time, over 80 years or so, through several conflicts. Each individual series is on each individual show is on a specific aircraft, and it carries the storyline carries through its concept, its development, its testing, and its actual employment in combat. Oftentimes, stories from people who flew the airplane during those phases, as well as film footage, as well as photography of that time taken in those steps, and a whole story of that airplane.
Well, Colonel, when I was 12 years old, I saw a movie called The Final Countdown with Kirk Douglas, where they shot the film on the USS Nimitz, and I became obsessed with the F-14 Tomcat, so specifically the Jolly Roger Squadron. So I was wondering, do you have a particular favorite plane that you adore?
Well, I flew the F-4 and the F-15 for many years, both aircraft. I loved the F-4 because it was my first fighter, and you know, Hemingway said no man has any love greater than that he has for his first fighter, which is true, but I also flew many years in the F-15, and the F-15 is still in our inventory, is a fantastic airplane, absolutely sensational airplane to fly.
Now, Colonel, you flew a lot of combat missions and a lot of planes over the years. But back then, they were, not high-tech as they were today. And I was wondering what the challenges were from, flying an original plane versus one that's like a high-tech computer today. They virtually fly themselves, don't they?
Well, now, Jeff, I'm not that old. We did really have computers, but they were analog computers in the F-4. Not in the very first versions that I flew, but they were very rudimentary, had a very limited capability, and I watched in my years from the early F-4 until I flew the newest versions of the F-15. The technology exploded, and when I say technology, I'm not talking just like the radar or the missiles, but the integration of those, the technological advances and digital computers and high-speed circuitry have allowed us to integrate all those systems to make it much easier for the pilot to operate them.
Now, Colonel, President Trump has declared that he wants a military presence in outer space, specifically Space Force. So I'm wondering what kind of planes will come out of this technology and this demand that the president insists that we become space operative?
Well, that remains to be seen, I guess. The idea is kind of new, so we're all trying to get our arms around it.
Well, Colonel, one of the most fascinating trips I ever had was to Washington, D.C. and going to the Smithsonian, and I saw The Spirit of St. Louis. And I love that movie with Jimmy Stewart, and it was such a thrill. I was wondering, is there a particular historical plane that you admire?
Yes, Memphis Belle. Memphis Belle is a B-17 that was early in World War II, and its crew was the first crew to survive 25 combat missions and fly Memphis Belle back to the U.S. Memphis Belle now has been restored and is in the National Museum of the Air Force at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. It's a great story.
Now, Colonel, we know America has the most advanced military in the world, but how are we doing with our Air Force, our air superiority versus China and the Russians? Are we still technologically ahead of the game?
Well, our aircraft are still somewhat better than our peer adversaries, such as the Chinese. Our airplanes are a little bit better, but they're catching up fast. The edge that we really have right now is in training. and you see that out at Nellis Air Force Base every day. Our real edges in training and the high skill levels of our air crews.
Now, Colonel, for the public, is the best way to see all these incredible planes still an air show? Because we have one here at Nellis Air Force Base every year, and it's such a tremendous success.
Well, I think the air show has a place. It's always a thrill to see these airplanes fly. And that's part of the attraction of the Air Warrior series here from Smithsonian is that you get a lot of flying views, film of these airplanes flying in various configurations at various times in their development and their service. Museums still have a place too, though, because you can stand beside the airplane, you can look at it, you can get close to it, you can read about it, and you can learn about it either from the displays that are there or from the docents that are in the museum. So everything has its value. I wouldn't say that one is any better than the other, but there is nothing like hearing a P-51 fly by with that particularly characteristic Merlin engine.
Colonel, thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you so much for your service, and congratulations on your 6th season of Air Warriors. And come out to Vegas and visit us real soon. We'd love to have you.
I might do that. Thanks for your support.
All right, you can check out the 6th season of Air Warriors on the Smithsonian Channel. And for more reviews and interviews, just surf on over to my website at vegasfilmcritic.com. I'm Jeffrey K. Howard in Las Vegas. I'll see you next time.